One may begin to wonder, will Tinubu obey the court order after Tribunal has finally granted P2B the quest to become the president of Nigeria? From recent record, we have seen the disobedience by some of those who are supposed to be obeying the court order disobey the court order without any reason. We saw the case of Emefiele and we saw the case of INEC, who has been given subpoena to release every CTCs to Labour Party, but they refuse because they felt that they are bigger than the law. Now let's take our time to look at, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not obey the court order, what will the country do? But let's break it down. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, P2B, has accused the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of cloning electoral fraudsters as leaders and wasting the time and resources of the country. In their final address, filed before the Presidential Election Petition Court dated July 23, 2023, Obi and LP warned that if the court fails to whip INEC into line to do its electoral duties fairly, impartially and independently, election in Nigeria will remain a fraud. Now, this is number one negativity. If eventually the tribunal fails to force Tinubu out of the seat, the election in Nigeria will remain a fraud and more frauds will be recorded. Obi and LP accused INEC of abandoning its primary statutory responsibility of being an electoral umpire and proudly put on the toga of a candidate in the election it conducted. They said INEC tragically and embarrassingly spent 5.5 pages of its address defending the ground on the non-qualification of second respondent Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They stated, in the case of PDP vs. Alechunu 2019 LPELR 49199 CA, this honorable court admonished the first respondent, INEC, who appears to have misunderstood its public duty. Thus, often one finds cases where INEC plays games with electoral materials and would not allow the petitioners access to documents used in the conduct of the election, even with court order to produce same, as in this case, thus playing the cards of declared winner openly to frustrate the petitioners. Obi further submitted that, pursuant to the mandatory provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, the INEC Regulation and Guidelines and INEC Manual, INEC introduced the use of modern technology of the conduct of 2023 general election. Now let's take a look at this. INEC, who is supposed to be an independent body, has now decided to be a candidate in this final just concluded election. Why is it happening? The court gave order that INEC should release the true certified copies of the beavers to the Labour Party, yet they have been playing games and continue to play games, in the sense that they have somebody who they are supporting, which is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and once they are against you, they play as the candidate. But what will happen if Bola Ahmed Tinubu refuses to obey the tribunal? And will he even obey the tribunal? From the look of things, we have seen what happened to Emefiele, where the court has granted him 20 million bail, yet DSS and the prisoners commissions were fighting who is going to take charge of Emefiele. By this, INEC represented and assured that it would use Bermuda voter accreditation system, BVAS, for the accreditation of voters in the polling units and the upload transmission of the result of the election in real time on the day of the election to the INEC result viewing portal, IREV. However, contrary to the requirements of the law and in manifest disregard of its own representation, the first respondent, INEC, abandoned and discarded the much expected upload transmission of the result of the election in real time on the day of the election from the polling unit to the IREV. Rather, and very strangely, blurred, unreadable and inaccessible document images were uploaded by the first respondent to the IREV purporting same to be the result of the election in various polling units. These blurred images and inaccessible documents were purported to be the result of the election in the polling unit. You see, so INEC decided to blur and upload a blur document. This is a way of subduing and suppressing LP vote. You see, one of the interesting facts here we continue to say is that they know that they don't have any case in court and they know they cannot fight P2B in court, but they have been doing everything. Of course, INEC chairman would definitely bow to pressure. He is moving around feeling like, a gods or ancestors of a land. But what he doesn't know is that the days are coming where it will now be the time for the judiciary to now pass the judgment whether justice will be prevailed or justice will be denied. This is just the two things that is remaining. But what will happen if Bola Ahmed Tinubu refuses to obey the court order? Will there be chaos? Will there be war? Will there be anarchy? Of course, I said it before in our previous video, but for those who missed our previous video, is that if Bola Ahmed Tinubu refuses to obey the court order, as long as a presidential candidate have been declared, one man cannot hijack a country. What we fail to understand is that they have finally hijacked Nigeria. Some criminals or criminal agents have finally hijacked Nigeria, and they are using it for their own personal enrichment. They are enriching themselves, enriching their families, enriching their generation, knowing fully where the Nigerians are suffering, and they are telling you to be patient, whereas they keep stealing. We have people who are coming out to assure us that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will take care of the country. We do not need a man who has so much cases surrounding his name to come and take care of the country. But if Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to disrespect the tribunal, after which they have given the order that he is not the winner of the just concluded election, then the military will take over. From the military to the DSS, even though the DSS has been compromised. But that time is coming when the DSS will no longer be compromised. These people have already taken over the forces of Nigeria as their own personal tools. This is disgusting. This is disheartening. But the presidential seats, the loyalty of the forces are attached to the presidential seat, not the person. So why the person involved, why sitting on that seat, has the respect of the forces. So once that mantle has been taken away from Bola Ahmed Tinubu and given to P2B, then eventually the respect turns away from Tinubu to P2B. Nothing will happen. Anarchy won't happen. The only time anarchy will happen is if Tinubu refuses to obey the court order, because he feels that he has a lot of money. The net result of the upload of the blood images on the IREV was that the result of the election could neither be authenticated nor verified, and thus lack credibility and transparency. We'll be bringing you more updates on what is going to happen if Tinubu refuses to obey the court order. Thank you for supporting the Future News. Peace.